I'm back today with a process that can help you achieve your goals and manifest what you want pretty quickly. There's no doubt that goal setting is an important tool to achieving what you want. Writing down your goals and then looking at them consistently in order to boost your belief that they are possible to achieve is definitely key, along with taking action, of course. But I think I know there is another component that is just as important to creating your desired results. And it can actually help expedite the process because it can help you to uncover and eliminate some of the patterns of behavior that could be holding you back and getting in your way. And that is to prepare yourself to receive what you want by mentally becoming the person who has already achieved the desired results. Now, why is that important? Well, because it helps you to boost your belief that what you want is possible and that it's possible for you, for your own reality, and that it actually exists as a part of you. It also helps to get rid of any of those pesky self doubts that might be lingering or that annoying mental chatter that just kind of takes you off course. If you have the ability to imagine something for yourself, a specific goal, a great relationship, your own business, the ideal lifestyle, whatever it may be, if you have the ability to imagine it, then it has to exist and not just exist like you've seen it for someone else who's living it, or it exists in the world because you've seen it maybe somewhere, but it has to exist as a possibility for you on some level, because you cannot have a desire without the ability to bring that desire to fruition. All desires, all dreams have within them the seeds of possibility to bring them to life. If you choose to do so, I mean, you have free will, which means, though, that you can create your reality. You can create the future you want, the future lifestyle, the future relationship, the future business. It exists just as readily as the future that you don't want. It's a matter of where are you going to place your attention? Because regardless of what you want, it will come about based on the dominant thoughts that you hold. So think about this for a moment. Let's think about this on a personal level. If you're, think of an example. If you're upset about something and let's say you're kind of angry at something just happened, but then you say, okay, I got to get out of this. I got to get out of this energy. So I'm going to try and I try to smile. I try to smile, or, you just try and think of something funny. Pretty soon that anger dissipates. It starts to dissipate because you're changing your emotional state. You can't have both. You can't be angry and happy at the same time. You can't have both because you're sending conflicting messages to your mind. Well, it's the same thing with your goals. You see, when you think of your goal and you think of it as being outside of yourself, separate from you, but you want it, but it's outside, separate from you, you're sending your mind conflicting messages. You're sending your mind a message that you don't actually have it, but you want it. So you're operating from lack. So you try affirmations, or you try visualization, or you put something else on your vision board. And those are all great tools, but they become elevated when you get into the energy of your goal. And you do that by aligning yourself with the feelings of your goal realized, because you don't receive what you want. You receive what you are, and it's your underlying beliefs that are dictating who you are. So let's use an example. Let's use an example of money. If you're someone who struggles with money, there never seems to be enough, no matter how much you work or how much you make. Maybe something always seems to come up that drains your savings. You have a pipe burst in the house, or you have some kind of big expense, you need dental problems, whatever. You tend to hit a financial set point. Maybe you make a certain amount year after year. I've seen this before with commission sales people, where they have a year that they make more commission than maybe ever before. And yet some big expense comes along and bam, they're right back to ending the year where they were with the exact same amount as the previous year. Well, they start to see a pattern, and a pattern like this is a good indication that there's an old belief system, a belief system that no longer serves you, but it's something that is still sitting in there, sitting in the driver's seat of your life, and it's running the show. Despite the intention you set, despite how much action you take, or how hard you work, our brains have a selective filtering system. Psychologists will call this filtering priming. And it's when the brain is primed by a certain belief. It has a stimulus that creates a certain thought that creates a belief. And so it now filters out the information that contradicts that belief. And so it only sees what that belief is dictating it to see. And so you start to experience what you believe to be true for you. Well, you can change those beliefs if you choose to. You can change those beliefs and those patterns by creating a different story for yourself. And you do that through your imagination. The more that you can step into the feeling of the part of you that has your desired results, then the sooner you'll be able to shift into that way of being and live those results. Because you see, all change happens just as all creation happens from the inside out. First the thought, then the feeling, then the belief, then the reality. So to remove the old belief system, you have to replace it with a new one. You set the intention, and then you get into the feelings of the part of you, your future self, who has already achieved what you want to achieve, who is already where you want to be, who is living the life that you want to live. Not focusing on every step that got you there, because then you're just trying to play God and you're trying to control every step. And that is not up for you. It's just not up to you to do, because in fact, you're actually going to probably muck it up a bit. You might make things more difficult because you see, our human mind cannot see the infinite possibilities that can get you to your desired results, but our creator certainly can. So if what you're experiencing isn't what you want, or maybe you have a vision board that seems to just keep repeating itself year after year with few things that are on there being realized, or maybe you have affirmations plastered all over your office, but things just seem to be taking forever to happen. Well, then you have to elevate your belief system, because chances are there's an old belief system running the show. And you can do that by getting into the feelings of the goal already achieved. That requires you to shift your energy to become aligned with the energy of the type of person who is where you want to be, who is experiencing what you want to experience. Einstein said that everything in the universe has a vibrational frequency. We know that now. Everything, not just physical objects, but our thoughts and our emotions as well. So you switch your frequency to match the frequency of the you that has your desired results. You begin to change the frequency through your feelings. This is why the idea of stepping into your future self, who has already achieved the results that you want, is very helpful. Can you feel what it's like to be living your goal? Just sit with that for a moment. Try and imagine that. Can you feel that? To have it already realized and really get into the feeling of it. I mean, you've got an imagination for a reason. It's one of our most powerful tools as human beings. Can you create an image of your future self? Who is that person that already has the goal realized? What are they like? If you want to write a book, are you a New York Times bestselling author? Are you sitting at Barnes and Noble doing book signings? What is that like? What does it feel like? What are you wearing? Do you kind of trip over something when you walk in there because, that you're just so excited, you're walking kind of fast? Hey, if you have to get really, really clear on that and you have to bring in something that would be kind of kooky like that, if it's real for you and it helps to make the vision real, do that. But what does that feel like? Who is that person? What choices do they make? Can you get into that future self and embody the traits of the individual who already has the desired fulfilled? Because the sooner you can do that, the sooner you can shift that energy, get rid of those beliefs that aren't serving you, and start to reap the rewards. Years ago, I learned a technique of setting reminders. Well, they're really like signs for myself that act like a trigger. And they're for me to kind of stop in the moment and start to think, okay, wait a minute, because I wanted to get into this consistently. Because the more consistent you are with getting into that future self and those feelings, the faster you're going to start shifting the patterns of behavior and getting into that. So I would think, okay, I would give myself signs like it could be a red light. What does it feel like right now if I am walking out of that place with a contract in my hand? Or if I am sitting or waking up in my dream home on the beach in the Caribbean. And I would give myself different triggers that would help me to just stop and ask myself those questions or start to assume the feeling. And then this is a fun one. I did this because I think this is kind of just a good way to do it. I would come up with kind of obscure things. And so I would say, okay, every time I hear the name Fred, and that might not be obscure for you, but I don't know any Freds, so it was kind of unusual for me. Or anytime I see a penny, then it would make me stop. And that was the sign I used. And I would start to shift into that feeling. And I'll tell you something, it was fun because the more or the more frequently that I started seeing those obscure signs, the faster I knew I was getting into my goals. I was starting to realize them because I was merging with that future self. As humans, we're emotional beings. We act according to our feelings. Feelings are the language of our soul. So when you can connect to the emotion of your goal, you're going to have an easier time to focus on that goal and to stay focused on that goal and remain consistent with it. When I wanted to be home with my children and own my own business, I thought, oh, how am I going to actually do that? And the only thing I could really come up with at the time was, man, I could probably be a freelance writer. I love to write and I can write from home. And so I started to envision myself as that person. I thought, okay, I knew I could write, but I hadn't been paid for it. So I had to connect to the part of me that could actually see myself as a bona fide true writer that got paid for it. So I started thinking in terms of, okay, what would I write about? What are those articles? Where am I writing? What does it feel like to be sitting at home and writing? Am I in my office? Am I in the kitchen table? What does it feel like to be a freelance writer and turn in an article and actually send an invoice as well and get paid for that? And the more I started playing around with that and living into there, stepping into that, the motions of it, the emotion of it, and getting into that feeling, then I started to think, okay, I can now start to, in a sense, take myself seriously. And when I started doing that, then I started taking action. You see, you have to take action right away, not waiting for all the boxes to be checked and everything to be perfect because our minds are tricky and it will find every excuse not to do that because it tries to keep you safe, right? In your familiar zone. So you have to take action right where you currently are. And it is a lot easier to do that if you are in the energy of someone who has already fulfilled that dream, because then you can start to believe it. When I started to take myself seriously as, oh, I actually could be a paid writer, then you can start to take the action because you see the physical action always follows the mental activity. You have to get clear on what you want. I knew I wanted to write. I knew I wanted to work from home. That was my exit plan from where I was. So I started the physical activity was that I started to write content for the company I was currently with. I started to write blog content. I started to write more elaborate descriptions in the sales presentations. And then I started writing content for clients, which led me to create an online magazine, which led to a content development business, and then my production company. Far more than what my limited mind could see, far more because my creator knows more than me. But the path becomes clearer the more that you start to step out in faith and take action. The fastest way to build that faith and to shut down any doubt is by using your imagination to feel the energy of having achieved the goal, because then you're operating from the part of you that knows what to do. And that helps keep your behavior in line with where you're headed instead of being focused on where you're at. Remember, you don't want to give your mind conflicting images. And you don't get worried then about Gosh, what's going to be required of me to get here? Oh my gosh. And then that can shut you down because then that mind will start to come creep up with all those different reasons why you shouldn't do it. Oh, I don't have the time. Maybe I need more training. All these different excuses, right? Like if I only had more money or more energy, all those excuses, we have to break those excuses. And you do that and you begin to silence those excuses and get rid of those when you can give thanks for a future of your design, a future that has yet to happen, a future you create with your desired outcome. When you think about it, we all have memories, good or bad, but memories of various experiences, moments in our lives that we can conjure up at just about any time we choose. So, why not create a memory using your imagination of a future that has not yet happened, a future of your design? When you can do this, you have prepared yourself to receive what you're asking for. And then you can readily accept it because you've now elevated your energy to the self, yourself, who's already there, who's already where you want to be, living the desired fulfilled. So try doing that. Let me know, drop me a line down below and let me know if that works for you. Maybe try giving yourself some reminders too, or triggers that can help you remind yourself to just think about what it is that you want and step into that future self. Think about those feelings and that get into those feelings. Drop me a line and let me know how that works for you. I would love to hear what your experience is and I would love to see just how it's working for you. Thanks so much for joining me here today. I will link some of the exercises down below that I mentioned in here and kind of some of the triggers that or the triggers as well that I've used and what's helped me as well. So, thanks so much.